The 93X Half-Ass Morning Show podcast is sponsored by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning.
Summer's coming, but don't sweat it. Stay cool with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Beat the heat now and ensure comfort all summer long. Their expert technicians are ready to ensure your AC is in top shape. Call and schedule a tune-up today at 612-824-2656 or online at standardheating.com.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show, Backtracks Edition.
We've probably all been woken up or bothered a little bit by a neighbor with a loud exhaust at some point in our lives. You had that problem, anybody?
Never been woken up, but I've certainly lived by somebody who had loud pipes on his hog.
On his hog.
By that I mean chopper.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of too many issues with the exception of, for a couple years of my life, I lived right down the road, about 2 or 3 blocks down the road from a bar in Hamel, Minnesota called In Cahoots. Terrific joint. Still pop in there from time to time, obviously before this nightmare hit town. But when I lived down the road from In Cahoots, they had a lot of biker parties up there. Hey, 600 of us are going to meet at In Cahoots Saturday morning. We're all going to go, and then we're all going to go to Red Wing or something like that. So I was a pretty heavy drinker back in those days. I didn't get out of bed on a Saturday morning until about 11:30 or noon. I'd stay up all night. And these yahoos on their Harley Davidson would roll, just about 6 feet from my front door every Saturday morning around 8 a.m. Just just the unbelievable biker gang noise you've ever heard in your life. That was the only time where I thought, I got to move.
Most of the places I've lived have been real close to very busy streets, or I also lived basically on a highway for a few years. And so you'd hear a lot of loud vehicles there too.
Spent almost my whole life on a highway. Yeah, so I got used to it. But when 600 Harleys go by at once, that'll rattle you out of bed. I never acted on it. What am I going to do? What am I going to do about it? But I'm just saying it.
It never irked me. It's just, you live next to a busy road, it's going to happen.
Yeah, it effed with my overhang here and again. But here's a story of somebody who acted on his neighbor with a loud-ass vehicle, according to a Facebook story. Aaron Robinson, he says, here's what he did. He uploaded a picture of his car's exhaust system, apparently filled with great stuff foam. You ever use that on anything around the house, Josh?
Yesterday. Yep. I'm very familiar. It's an art to use that stuff.
I bet you I'd be pretty bad at it. If you don't know, it's like a sealant. It's kind of like a seal-all. It'll fix a crack in your this. It'll seal up a this and that. You know what I'm talking about? Everyone knows what I'm talking about, right?
The artistry comes in like filling up an icy. Have you ever had this experience where you fill up an icy and you think, I got it the perfect level, and then it just keeps expanding?
Oh.
Yes.
And you got a big blue mess everywhere. I like the blue ones. Big blue mess everywhere.
What'd you use it on yesterday? Did you mention it already?
Installing an outlet outdoors.
That's great. So this guy uploads, again, a picture of his car. He's got a sweet Mustang. The exhaust system filled with that great stuff. And that'll stay for a stretch of time, I would imagine.
You can ship it out.
You can. And the Facebook post was accompanied by a letter allegedly written to him by an angry neighbor. Now, it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense at times, but I'm going to read it as is. Here's the letter the guy received. It reads, I finally found you. You want our attention? You don't want our attention. You have 14 days to fix the muffler or put the stock exhaust back on. It then threatened, don't egg us on, you will only regret it. We encourage you to call the police or install a video camera. Nothing will work. It then finished by saying, fix your muffler. Now, this Robinson guy insists this really happened and replied to a comment suggesting he file a police report. Someone sent, you should call the cops on this. And he also added in, he goes a little far with this maybe, he also said, I hope someone gets COVID and dies a slow, painful death over this. He's mad.
That's a reasonable response.
He's mad. Someone filled his exhaust system with great stuff foam. Now, it appears in the post that he owns a newer Ford Mustang, but the car is apparently equipped with an aftermarket exhaust. So he wanted it to have a little grit. Is that what I would take from that, Josh?
Yeah, I like. When we were just talking about this, I was thinking. I had mentioned, this stuff never irked me, and I like the sound. I like that sound. I think it sounds cool.
Me too.
Whether it's on a car, motorcycle, whatever it is. And I do remember something that did irk me living by busy roads. Mm-hmm. The loud bass. And I get it. I get it. I'm too old. But even as a kid growing up in Minneapolis, sometimes that bass was just ridiculous. We want to say, okay, that's just too much.
Right.
Go ahead, listen to your music loud. I like loud music, but that's just ridiculous. That has to be more pain. It's like when things are too hot when you eat it, too spicy hot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where it's not really flavor anymore. All you're doing is inflicting harm.
It's a perfect way to put it.
You don't really hear the music. You just hear bolts rattling off the back of the Honda Civic.
Unnecessary, totally ridiculous. But, of course, those people are trying to make some kind of a statement. I would go along with that. Not a lot of loud vehicles really got on my nerves when I spent the majority of my life living on a major highway.
Yeah, I don't mind vehicle noise. It was just the bass. And my wife is an offender. We don't have an aftermarket crazy system in her vehicle, but I don't think she realizes that the treble knob can be turned up.
She likes a lot of bass.
She wants it all bass.
I was bothered by that as well, especially when the dinkus with the bass party going on in his good call, Honda Civic, especially when you could tell from about 6 miles away that one of those speakers wasn't quite screwed in properly.
Right.
It had that rattle to it.
You just hear the rattling.
Do you have a screwdriver, for Christ's sake?
But I think some of those guys use foam to insulate the inside of the car.
Yeah, you would know something about that, wouldn't you? Didn't you do that for a living for a brief period?
Well, not for a living. I did that, just wasn't paid for it. I was a nerd, and I hung out at Audio King.
Yeah.
I would hang out and just help those guys.
He hung out at Audio King, you guys.
And then I went and took an automotive electronic class so I could install car stereos, learn how to build a carburetor.
That's awesome, dude.
Or not a carburetor, now I can't even think of the... Car guys, help me out. Why can't I think of the thing that makes electricity in a car?
Alternator. Carburetor.
Alternator.
Do you think, after a while, when you walked into Audio King, did the guys who work there, did they go, Jesus Christ, here he comes again?
I kind of think so.
Oh, no.
I've had that moment over the years for places I would go to too often. And I'm not besmirching these businesses at all, I understand. But sometimes the employees, I felt at a particular Chipotle and at this Best Buy, like, do you have anything else to do? I felt that was the look they're giving me.
That's not nice.
Now, that could all be in my head.
No, here's the thing, is I know you very well. You were not burdening these people. There are certain types who it would make perfect sense for them to say, for God's sake, here he comes again. I doubt you burdened them in that way, whether it be awesome Audio King or Chipotle. What's your record again for consecutive days going to the same Chipotle?
Oh, it's got to be hundreds and oftentimes 2 a day. When I was single, that's all I did. And this is a true story, so I've moved a lot. Pretty much when my place would get dirty, I'd want to move. And so I had to be within 5 minutes of a Chipotle. They say location, location, location. For me, it was burrito, burrito, burrito. I had to be within 5 minutes. It's no lie.
See, yeah, you're way more interesting than you lead people to believe.
Well, I don't know if interesting's the right word.
Dude, you went to
Bizarre.
the same Chipotle for 200 days in a row?
Well, at least. No, it was over that because it was certainly I never missed. Well, okay, throw out holidays where they're closed. Days they were open, I went every day, sometimes twice a day, to the point where there was one it was in the parking lot when I lived in Eden Prairie. That's where I lived, right on the freeway at these condos there. And I'd walk in, it would be ready for him.
That's awesome.
They just knew, well, here it is, 12:30, he'll be here any second.
And you know my story about I went to the same sandwich shop once a week maybe twice a week when I was a young guy. I didn't have any money. They sold cheap sandwiches. It was a block from my house. Why wouldn't I go there? Oh, God.
He's choking on something.
I got him.
Wapple, give him the hind lick maneuver.
I'm doing it.
I can't see him. Is he passed out?
He's good.
All right. You back?
Tobacco chewers know what I go through.
What happened? You swallowed some by accident?
No, they didn't. Swallowing, that's old. That's kid stuff. I've been doing that since I was 2.
No, I mean, did you swallow like a chunk of it?
Once in a while, it just dry up.
Oh.
But you know my sandwich shop story.
Yeah, where the guy, he was unnecessarily hostile to you for some
Yeah,
reason?
he went after me. We almost scrapped. It was just me and him in the sandwich shop. And I walked in and I said, yeah, I'll take the steak sandwich with the... And he goes, hey, why don't you just come back here and make it yourself? You're here every damn day.
Jeez.
And I said, what got up your ass, bruh? By the way, sir, there are some listeners texting who have had many problems with loud vehicles in their neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah.
The racing sometimes can be a little annoying. There's like, I'm going to guess it's County Road 3. I'm not 100% sure where it's coming from, but by us, you hear just crotch rockets racing. You hear that every once in a while.
Yeah.
Probably, by every once in a while, maybe like once a week when it's riding weather.
But, like you said, we both grew up on major highways. Very little bothered us. You get used to it. You really do.
Same with airplane noise. Some people will freak out over airplane noise. For me, I always...
You got used to it?
It seems like my parents wanted to live under a flight path. We moved once, both directly. It's like the planes would just wave as they went over our house.
Maybe you learned to project yourself better as a young person by always having to shout over airplane traffic.
You might be right. I mean, I remember after September 11th, one of the many things, that stood out to me was just how silent the skies were because I lived under a flight path.
Yeah.
It was so eerie. You'd hear the low rumble of military planes.
I never experienced a lot of that, but yeah, you were in that area, weren't you?
Yeah.
Here's a guy who texted in and said, pathetic a-hole in my apartment complex would pull his Harley out every day to idle it, just so we'd know he's got a bike.
Well, I will say, I know there's plenty of real polite people that know, okay, I've got loud pipes on my bike. And, I forget his Jesus name. It's going to kill me. But he would roll his bike out of the neighborhood just to be polite because he went to work, the same time we do. He's getting out of bed and getting to work by 3:30. So he would just roll his bike out of the neighborhood.
That's so nice.
That's what Ashley might call extra.
Yeah, it is extra.
That effort he went to just to be polite to his neighbors.
I'd probably flip out, too, if somebody messed with my vehicle the way this guy's vehicle got messed with the great stuff bonding foam.
Well, it's too much, and I don't know if you have it in that story, but the guy had said, hey, if you would have just asked me or let me know, I would have adjusted my schedule or I would have done something differently.
I've never had a vehicle with a really sweet sound to it. Never have.
Well, mine was like the, what would you call it? Like, cheap suite, I don't know, for lack of a better term, where my muffler had fallen off, and it sounded kind of cool for a little bit. Had nothing to do with the actual power of the engine. It just was like, hey, it kind of sounds like it's got some balls to it.
Dude, same thing. Same effing thing. And I know I just got done talking about Hamel. When I lived in Hamel, lived down the road from In Cahoots, the bikers would go by on Saturday mornings, and it would rattle me out of bed. Before I lived in Hamel, I worked in Hamel. And if anyone knows Hamel Road, where In Cahoots is, that is one quiet street most nights. Nice houses, just quiet. It's getting busier by the day, but I worked there in the early 90s at a warehouse, and I had this old Ford van with a bed in the back.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It was wonderful.
Was it, it's funny, you see movies where they have that. Is that a feature you could have as part of the vehicle, or do you just toss one in?
It was a feature.
It really was?
Yeah. That model came with a bed.
I always wondered that.
You could flatten it out into a bed. Other than that, it looked like a little couch in the back. Anyway, so I'm driving down Hamel Road. I used to work nights at this warehouse. We got done at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm putting down Hamel Road, quiet as a church on that street most nights. It's a Tuesday night, something like that, or Tuesday morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. and the muffler just falls right off. I mean, it was so bad. It was so loud, and I get out and I try to, wrangle it back into place. I've got some wire and whatnot. No chance. It's come completely off. And I felt like such an ass rolling through town with that extremely loud vehicle, but I gotta say, at the same time, I felt really cool. I did.
I felt cool for a second, too.
I finally sounded cool. I mean, it was just ba-da, 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 ba-da. You couldn't even believe how loud it was without that effing muffler.
No Dog Jesus has some retirees in her neighborhood, and in the morning, she also rolls her bike down the block before she fires it up.
Yeah, aren't very nice.
There's some polite folks out there.
Richard Beating Jesus says he lives by the saying, if it's too loud, you're too old. Well, in a lot of cases, then I'm too old.
I think I did admit, yes, I'm too old. I get it.
We've admitted that.
Yeah.
Usually at concerts, I will raise my hand and say, can we turn it down a little bit? And no one will listen to me.
No, I'm with you on that. I went as far as I went up on stage and I turned down the Marshall amplifier that Dave Mustaine was playing once with Megadeth.
You had to.
It's too loud,
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah, I think I'm more adept to dealing with loud traffic noises at my age now than I am with loud concerts. If I would have said this into the microphone 15 years ago, I'd probably be fired. Because we're all supposed to portray ourselves as these wild, out of control rockers. That was the thing 15 years ago on this program.
That's true. You go to every concert, and the way you get there is on your not your Harley, but your chopper with loud pipes.
But I'm completely content now, and it's nothing new. We've said it before. Most concerts I go to, I'd like them to turn it down a little bit.
I'd also like there to be less people, more elbow room.
Yes.
Can we get a few less people? Would work for me
Some
too.
chairs, maybe.
How about
everywhere.
a chair for a player?
And can we also maybe just have a sign-up sheet for when we can use the bathroom? So we don't have to wait in long lines to use the bathroom.
Yes, that'd be so great.
Maybe a bathroom for number ones and a bathroom for number twos. Savage Jesus. Can we also get a 5 p.m. start time for these concerts? I agree with that.
Yes.
I agree. The last band should go on at 5 p.m.
That would maybe be my number one. Wonderful point, Savage Jesus. Yes, it's too loud for me. Yes, it's too crowded. And yes, most of the time, no one's polite enough to hand me a chair. But above all, if we could get the main act on around 5:30 p.m., that would be incredible.
You can stop at Perkins on the way home, maybe get a Perk-a-Bear, bring home a nice big muffin. You're in bed by 9.
Yeah, do we still need to do the opening band? Do we still need to do the main act goes on at 9:45, 10 o'clock?
No, let's make some changes. The world is reset. Let's come back better.
I mean, I was effing furious when I went to go see those Foo Fighters. They had us out until after midnight.
That's the next day. The concert doesn't say till tomorrow. The date on it should end on the date on the ticket stub. It should not go into the next day.
The last time the Foo Fighters came to town, I went to the show with my roommate. She loves them. I'm not much of a Foo Fighters fan, but I went anyway. And I couldn't tell you one song they did or did not do. All I know is they kept me there way too effing late, and I'm not going to see them again.
Now, I do like the Foo Fighters, very much so, but that would bother me too, I think.
Guns N' Roses did the same thing. Everybody was so excited for Guns N' Roses to come back. So was I until they played Knocking on Heaven's Door for a half hour, and I didn't get out of there until 12:45.
And I think it's kind of like the old, if the teacher doesn't show up after 15 minutes, everyone gets to leave. It should be the same with concerts, and I want my money back. And this hat. I will take this hat as well, and bandana.
There's a douchiness to them.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show. Half-Assed Morning Show.
They're loud, they lose control, they do their little circus act. They're a nuisance.
93X.
Our technicians are geared up and ready to make sure your system is running reliably this summer. Regular maintenance from Standard Heating helps prevent costlier breakdowns in the future, and we know they always happen at the worst times.
Summer's coming, but don't sweat it. Stay cool with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Beat the heat now and ensure comfort all summer long. Their expert technicians are ready to ensure your AC is in top shape. Call and schedule a tune-up today at 612-824-2656 or online at standardheating.com.
Just Capital is a nonprofit that tracks which companies are a force for good. companies like Bank of America, which just earned the Just Capital seal. Bank of America is ranked #1 for ongoing commitment to their workers with initiatives like Sharing Success, which awarded 97% of their teammates additional compensation, nearly all in stock. This is the program's 7th consecutive year, awarding more than $4.8 billion in total. Visit JustCapital.com to learn how a Just business is a better business.
Furnished by Just Capital.
Half-assed morning show 93X.
A man is fed up with flat earthers. And he started a crowdfunding type of a thing to prove once and for all that our planet is round. His name is Mark Gold. He describes himself as an annoyed Scot. And he set up this GoFundMe page to send a flat earther into orbit. And he's dead serious about this. Despite overwhelming evidence that our planet is round, some corners of the internet still believe that if you travel to the edge, you'll fall off.
I don't know that I've ever met a flat earther.
I have.
Have you really?
Yeah, and I did enjoy it.
How did the topic come up? Was it someone that just wanted you to know they felt that way, or?
No, it's
sorry.
somebody that I've known for a while, and then I became Facebook friends with them.
Oh, so you've seen it? Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
They say if you just keep walking, at one point or another, you'll fall smooth off.
I used to think that when I was
see somebody try.
I thought that when I was a little kid.
You did?
Yeah, and maybe I've been lied to all these years that it won't happen.
Well, from what I'm reading here, flat earthers say this idea that the world is round is a NASA scam. NASA, they're scamming us. It's NASA.
What would they get out of that?
Well, just a few laughs, I guess, just to make us all look foolish.
I always wonder that with some of these conspiracy theories. Like, what's the point? Why would somebody be motivated by that?
Yeah, I don't get a lot of it. This Mark guy says if he sends a flat earther into space, maybe he can finally straighten some of these folks out on the topic.
That's pretty funny. That's really passive-aggressive. Or is that not passive? That's just aggressive. I don't know.
I don't know how to define it.
That's funny.
He's told some of the local papers in his neighborhood that he hoped whoever returned from their trip to space would then convince the other flat earthers that their theory is a load of garbage. He says, I have a couple of friends that are flat earthers, and it drives me crazy. They're total nonsense that they speak. They call astronauts actors who are paid to lie. And that boils my blood because these are guys who barely hold down jobs and do nothing. So to talk about astronauts like that, I don't know where they get off. This dude is pissed.
He's pretty funny.
He has a long way to go before reaching his goal. His funding goal is $345,000. He says in a bid to hit this mark, he is attempting to rope in some of the biggest names in space exploration. He said, I decided to give flat earthers the chance to put their money where their mouth is for once, and the only way I could do it is by sending a high-ranking flat earther into space. He says, I've contacted Elon Musk and Richard Branson to get their support on waiting for a reply. Now, remind me of who those people are.
Elon Musk, he is the guy behind Tesla and I believe SpaceX. Mm-hmm. And Branson is the Virgin guy, Virgin Mobile, Virgin Airlines.
Okay, and they're both flat earthers?
No, they have. He has a space plan too, I believe.
Okay,
like they, are developing a space program.
Could talk to Jeff Bezos too.
Some way, yeah. Isn't he doing something similar?
Yeah, he's with Blue Origin.
Blue Origin?
Yeah, they're trying to make that giant spaceship where they can send normal people up to space.
Oh,
well, not
I'm in.
normal, but
what do you mean?
If you have money.
I'm in.
You mean civilians?
Yeah.
Civilians into space?
Okay, so...
I'd pretend I was a flat earther to get a free ride, but then I'd feel kind of guilty about it.
Right? Yeah.
Because he would have blown all that money and wouldn't get what he wanted.
You couldn't get me within 5 miles of a space shuttle.
Oh, I would never.
What?
I would poop my pants.
I would immediately if I ever had the chance to go to space.
Well, yeah, you're nuts, though. You're nuts and you're young. You don't get it yet. You just don't get it.
if I had to choose, I feel like I had this question earlier. If I had to choose right now, if I went up to space, but I would die up there, no more life down here, versus living a full life on Earth, I'd rather go to space.
Really? That's how much you want to go, huh?
Hang on a second. Let me get this
I feel
straight.
like that'd be so cool.
You would choose to go to space, they drop you off on a planet, and you just drop dead. You'd choose that over living your entire life on planet Earth.
Yep.
I'd consider it
Absolutely.
if they had a Chipotle. But as far as I know, they're all flat Earth-bound locations.
Tomorrow, Ashley, if they said we can get you on a space shuttle and it takes us a week to get up to the planet, we drop you off, you die, you say, I'm in, as opposed to staying here.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to see that. Be able to see
Just for
before I
that, just
left.
for the ride. Just for the ride?
Well,
just to be there.
For the destination, not necessarily the ride, but yeah.
But you don't really get to enjoy the destination. As soon as they drop you off, you die.
Well, you're up there for a while. I mean, you still
No, there's
be
no
up
up there for a while. There's no up there for a while.
Maybe there's a Radisson or a Motel 6.
Could you send a postcard?
Let's just keep perspective, Josh. Isn't that what you said a couple days ago? Everything's about perspective.
That's what life is. It's perspective.
This is the same woman yesterday who said she would have a tattoo. She would accept a tattoo on her body that said, "Whoever smelt it, dealt it."
I really just don't care.
You crazy, girl.
That's one of my favorite Abraham Lincoln quotes, by the way. Presidential quotes. And by the way, I was mistaken. This text says Richard Branson isn't the Virgin guy. That's Wapple.
Oh, my damn.
And Branson runs Virgin Galactic. That's his space program.
That took me way too long to get that.
You what? You didn't get the Virgin?
No. I thought you get it at first. I'm like, wait a minute.
I thought you were going to make the joke yourself.
This guy's hoping to get this launch underway later this year, where he's going to send flat earthers to space. He says he's 100% serious, and your donations are greatly appreciated.
Got somebody who works with a flat earther.
Yeah.
They say, I work with a flat earther, but he also smoked meth in high school, so...
I like that. So.
I do like the so at the end, too.
Now, let's say you're new to this topic. It says here, the rise of the internet and social media has allowed false conspiracies like the flat earth theory to flourish.
Well, conspiracies, let's not say false conspiracies.
Okay. Yeah, these aren't my words. This is the article that I'm reading. And there are some badass crazy theories out there. Woo-wee! The flat earth theory, that is kid stuff compared to some of the things.
No kidding.
Woo-wee!
You know, I like globes for whatever reason.
Globes, yeah.
Just certain, I don't know, I guess a decoration, I don't know what else to say, but certain things I kind of am into, and globes are one of them.
Do you have a globe in the house that you can spin around and round and round?
Well, mine's just a piece of paper right now. It's just one
oh my God.
drawing of the world, which more accurately represents what we're all standing on.
I see, sure.
No, I do. I have a globe. I love it. I don't know why. Really enjoy it. One of those weird things.
Well, I mean, I hear you. I haven't seen one of those since grade school. Now, I think I remember this, but this could just be, the beer talking. Last year, a man died after launching himself in the air using a homemade rocket in a bid to prove the Earth was flat. Mm-hmm. That really happened? What was the idea of launching himself up in the air? If you want to prove the world is flat, just start walking. Why did he launch himself up into the air?
He wanted to see.
So he could see. Oh, he thought if he got high enough, he could see the end of the...
Yeah.
Oh.
That's that Mad Mike Hughes.
That's what it says here. Well, that's a terrible story. I feel awful. But he really was that dead set on proving that the Earth was flat, or was that just a spin to get more attention for his stunt? I mean, I feel terrible. This man died for this?
You know what doesn't spin? Our flat Earth.
You son of a bitch. Yeah, the thing is that some people, even the sane ones, It doesn't matter what evidence you show them. They will just refuse to admit they're wrong for one reason or another. Some just want to be different and enjoy the attention. Yeah. You can exhaust yourself, and they're just not going to change their opinion.
This person says, I believe the moon landing was staged, but I believe we've landed on the moon since. I'm a man of science, but I'm skeptical.
Okay, Mr. Scientist.
Oh!
I think I fall in the line of sheeple. Somebody will say, we landed on the moon, and I'll go, okay, cool.
Yep, same here.
I never go, wait a minute. Didn't that guy star in Planet of the Apes? That astronaut there? That's an actor. I've never been one of those folks. I don't think I'm a deep enough thinker.
So when is this shuttle going to be ready to send just your average rich citizen up into space? Anyone know? Wapple brought it up a minute ago.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think they've had some ideas when they wanted to do it, but then like a rocket blows up.
Yeah. I've seen designs of it.
Ashley, how are you going to explain this to your parents or your fiance that, hey, I made a deal. I'm going to fly up into the space, to the outer space, and then when they're going to drop me off on a planet, I'm going to die. I choose that over living here on Earth. How do you think you're going to explain that to those people?
Both of them already know about that,
So
about the way I feel.
They know if you get a ticket, you're just going to be gone, and then we'll read your obituary a week later.
Yeah, they
Okay.
just know that it's never going to be possible for me, so they're just like, okay.
Goat
right.
Truckin' Jesus wants us all to know that his wife is not flat. Not at all. While the earth may be, Goat Truckin' Jesus' wife, she ain't flat.
Thank you for that.
I'll tell you this, Ashley, you have plenty of people who agree with you.
Nice.
A couple other people are worried your brain cells have committed suicide. But there's plenty of people who feel the same. They would love an opportunity to do just that, even if it meant their life ends early.
Instant death. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Now, what is this now? Now, this is the way to go. Not being flown up into space. You vomit all over yourself, right? You're trapped. You're locked into something.
Oh, I
you
would
puke.
definitely puke.
It's just floating there, and then you try and get away from it, but then you walk right back into it.
It's just in your helmet, too.
Right. I got a way to go. I got the way to go. Not being strapped on some garbage pile spaceship, and they whip you up there, you vomit, like Josh was saying. You're wallowing in your then they drop you off on a planet, and you drop dead. That's not the way to go.
Well, polish up your dog schlong, because you're about to score. If your job is scoring, you'll never work a day in your life.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show. Half-Assed Morning Show.
They're loud, they lose control, they do their little circus act, they're a nuisance.
93X.
Our technicians are geared up and ready to make sure your system is running reliably this summer. Regular maintenance from Standard Heating helps prevent costlier breakdowns in the future, and we know they always happen at the worst times.
Summer's coming, but don't sweat it. Stay cool with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Beat the heat now and ensure comfort all summer long. Their expert technicians are ready to ensure your AC is in top shape. Call and schedule a tune-up today at 612-824-2656 or online at standardheating.com.
What's up, everyone? It's Reality Steve, your number one source for all things Bachelor Nation and reality TV. Every day, I'm giving you the behind-the-scenes juice and your info on all your Bachelor Nation stories and also interviewing some of your favorite reality stars. My name has been synonymous with spoilers, but I'm so much more than that. Give me a listen.
The Reality Steve Podcast, part of the Believe Network. Just search BLEAV on YouTube or wherever you listen.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show. What in the actual are you guys doing?
On 93X.
Cubby over here says you're yoked.
Yeah, yoked.
He says you're
man,
big.
I don't know if I've ever been called yoked.
Yeah, Josh says you're pretty yoked. So you probably can send a football quite a distance when you're. I was just curious, at training camp and things like this, when you practice all these details. If anybody had ever pointed a radar gun at your ass, it would be literally to see how fast you can snap that football.
No, never had a radar gun pointed in that direction of my body.
Right on. Oh man,
isn't the key to that how the laces end up once the holder gets the ball? Isn't there some sort of a?
Are you talking about for a field goal?
No, I'm talking about the snap. Isn't there some sort of a kind of a science to it that when the snap is made and the holder catches the ball, the laces are in the same place every time? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah. Usually, we try to take as much, moving parts away from the operation as possible. So if the holder doesn't have to spin it on a field goal, that's just kind of less room for error. So I usually will try to get the snaps to be facing. We call them 12 o'clock. Right back to the uprights.
12 o'clock, boys. You got to work on that at practice. Where'd you hear that, Randy Shaver?
Well, Mike Morris used to talk about that, who was a longtime snapper for the Vikings, that there was some sort of they counted like the revolutions of the football from the snapper to the holder, that the whole key to it was to make sure that the laces were away from the kicker or as far, they didn't have to spin the ball as much because it's all one motion, right? From the snap to the hold to the kick. As Andrew was talking about, you want it to be as fast and as efficient as possible.
Wasn't Morris kind of known for making himself sound more important than he really was?
He was. Yeah, he certainly was.
That's not true.
I'm kidding. He was always in that.
But when you watch the best of the best do that, it's amazing how many times in a row the laces are basically in the same place every time when the holder catches the ball and sets it down, that they don't have to do very much once they catch the ball.
And you're right. That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The last time I met a long snapper in person, Andrew, he hugged me because he thought I was a sickly young person.
Yeah.
He thought I was dying. True story.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
And then who was that, if I could ask?
That was Mike Morris.
Mike Morris.
Yeah, it was Mike Morris.
Good. All right, good.
He's a very sweet, nice man in our experience, and we were at Randy Shaver. He does a lot for cancer research in the community. I don't know if you knew that. I mean, it's huge. It's awesome what he does, and we were at one of his golf events, and Randy was nice enough to introduce us to Mike Morris, and he came up to me and gave me the warmest embrace and told me basically, hey, keep up the fight, little buddy.
Wow.
He thought I was someone going through cancer, and I didn't have the heart to say anything to him at the time.
Oh, man.
What do I say? But
I've never bit my lower lip. I'm biting my lower lip not to laugh out loud.
Because I thought, wow, this guy's really nice. He wants to, when you meet him, he'll really embrace you. And, that's what it was.
Here's Josh, a 30-year-old man at the top, and Mike Morris thought he was a sickly 11-year-old. Andrew DePaula, sometimes our listeners text in with questions, and I got a couple they want to throw your way. This will give you a real solid idea of the type of people that listen to this program. Andrew DePaula, have you ever hit yourself real hard in the pills?
Oh, good question.
When doing your job?
Yeah, do you wear a cup?
No, I do not wear a cup, and I've never hit myself in the pills. That I guess that's more of like a center, like a true center. The guy that snaps it to the quarterback. My release is way too early to get close.
Well, right, but with the follow through though.
Yeah.
Yes, even my follow through, it's more down. Like the highest I'll go is like inner thighs, like around the knees. I don't really go much higher than that with my follow through.
I'll have to watch you a little closer. Another listener says on DraftKings you're listed as a tight end.
Interesting.
So a bunch of my buddies from back home will send me, screenshots of me being on there. They never actually put me on their team. They just show me that I'm in there and I'm eligible. So all my buddies back home listening, we call them the Ellerson boys. Yeah, you guys might want to just play me once in a while.
Are there plays where, like fake punts, where you are eligible to go out and catch a pass?
Oh.
Now, if there were, do you think I'd be able to talk about them on this show?
Well, you wouldn't be able to tell us the play, but could there possibly be a play in place?
And will we see it this Sunday against the Lions?
Can't give out.
You'll just have to watch and maybe find out.
Yeah, I feel like giving up playbook secrets might give them the coach's office later this afternoon.
You see, what you have to understand, Andrew, is that Brad Ryder's working for the Detroit Lions. He's undercover. And also a listener has texted this in. This is interesting. Nice to see a fellow Gapper on the Minnesota Vikings. And what he means by that is this listener, and myself, I might add, and Andrew, our two front teeth have never been introduced, says this listener.
Yep, yeah. I've never heard it described as a Gapper, but you know what? I'm proud to be in that crowd.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and so is this listener. I'll tell you, the funniest line anyone ever had about my teeth. Josh, remember this one?
Yes.
Years ago, I had a miserable gig in the radio business, Andrew DePaula. I was the guy that went out on the street to see what was going on.
Oh, jeez.
And I hated every single solitary second of it. That was a big thing in radio for a while. You had to have some nutbag out on the street to see what's going on. And one particular morning, I was interviewing someone, and I can't remember why, but the hosts back in studio didn't believe that I was really talking to this person. Maybe it was a famous person. I don't remember. So the host of the show asked this other person who was on the street with me, "Are you really talking to Nick? We don't believe you. Describe him to us." And this complete stranger who I was interviewing on the street said, well, he's got a set of front teeth that even Evel Knievel wouldn't mess with. I'd never heard anything like that in my life.
That's funny.
I also like the one you've said before about your tongue.
My tongue?
Yeah, I don't want to ruin the joke.
I don't remember. My tongue? You have to write that one down.
Picture where a lot of Ashley's relatives have spent some time.
Oh, yes, yes. Someone once said that it appeared that my tongue was in jail.
Oh, my gosh.
People are so clever. I don't know where they come up with this stuff.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Well, people don't say that to guys your size. You know, you got to be smaller for someone to have the courage to say that.
One more thing. Something I think we forgot to ask you about last week. Something about your bartending career. Didn't you have a bartending career for a brief period of time, but then someone told you sucked at it?
Was it your dad that told you that?
Well, yeah. So it was the owner of the establishment that told me I wasn't really any good, and he's also my dad. So, yeah.
So was this a situation where you were out of football for a brief period of time, and you decided to serve some beer at a local bar? A bar, obviously, your dad, and then he said, "Look, you can't do this.
This isn't for you."
So yeah, I had moved home, after I'd gotten cut, for the whoever knows how many time, and just trying to figure out maybe what to do in the meantime, or maybe what my next career move would be. So, just kind of shadowing, doing some odd end jobs around the bar. Decided to give bartending a try. I think I was like overpouring like crazy because after one of my shifts, he was just like, "Yeah, man, I'm just losing too much money, and I got to pay you, so." No, let's get you out from behind the bar.
That's great. Just over-serving everybody.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty fun to watch you bartend and you're just snapping Coors Lights to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was more of a Bud Light crowd, but yeah.
Oh, that's funny. But you were serving some stiff-ass drinks. I bet the crowd was upset to see you go.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were, because, man, they were pretty stiff.
That'd be a tough job, and you're dealing with people who are whining and crying and pounding on the bar. Hey, where's my drink? I could never be a bartender. That's a brutal gig.
Did we?
Yeah, wasn't easy.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, yeah, you're right. It's not easy.
I forget, did we talk to you last week, Andrew, about you crushing softballs at an event recently? I can't remember if we brought it up. I know it was something we wanted to talk about.
No, we didn't talk about that last week, no.
Because you played baseball, and then someone had you out to their softball tournament, and the word
Adam
is
Thielen, I think.
Oh yeah, word is you were the second coming of Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, I don't know. Adam puts on a great, great event, and this year I guess he brought back his softball event, charity softball game. Got a bunch of guys involved. we went just to kind of show support, me and the other specialists, and turned out that a couple guys didn't show up or just couldn't make it. So Adam was like, hey, if you guys want to play, jump in and play for the defense. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Stepped up to the plate, hit a couple dingers, try and help us win. Unfortunately, offense came out in the end, but it was a really, really fun night, really good event put on by Adam and his wife.
What's that line again? Chicks?
Chicks take the long ball?
Well, no, there was the Little League kid that said something like, hey, my name's...
Chicks love dingers.
Chicks love dingers?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it.
Hey, Andrew, it doesn't matter who you're playing or where you're playing. What's most important is that you're our new bro.
That's right.
Heck yeah, you are.
Right.
And we appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. This is a great way to start my Friday.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show.
It's a complete crap.
In Pasadena, Texas, a now hiring sign was put up there on the street. And it has some folks cracking up. Others are greatly offended. The owner of a joint called Pets Gone Wild Resort put up the hiring sign last Tuesday morning. It says, quote, now hiring non-stupid people.
That might hurt my feelings if they put one up here. When did you guys make the change?
Does this mean I'm out?
Hey, Ashley, look at my computer real quick.
Oh, that's adorable.
This is their website.
Cute. Look at those little glasses.
Pets Gone Wild Resort has a dog with some sunglasses on. He can pull off these sunglasses. I still couldn't.
He looks so cool.
He does
relaxed.
look cool.
Wow, so they'll take your dog or cat for the weekend kind of a thing?
Yeah.
They say if you're driving around town, this sign is hard to miss. The owner of the joint is a fella named Walter Parsons. Parsons said the resort has been trying to fill positions for a while. They've made postings online but haven't had many applicants, and the employees that they've hired haven't worked out. He said, we hired one person last week that lasted only 3 days. It's kind of funny here. Walter played out what it's been like with some of the people they've hired recently. He said, I've had to repeatedly say, get off your cell phone, you've got dogs to watch. 20 minutes later, she's back on her cell phone. And then he puts this line in here, which I think is kind of cute. He wants his employees to be, quote, at least be as smart as I am.
Man, because you guys know me, I'm addicted to my cell phone, but I think one of the few things that can really get me away from my cell phone is playing with dogs. If I had the opportunity to look at my cell phone or play with some puppies, I'm playing with the puppies.
I like that you went that route instead of you're at work and supposed to be working. A lot of people said, one thing that keeps me away from my cell phone is I'm at work. I'm being paid to do some work.
So this Walter Parsons, he's had trouble hiring people that are worth a rip. So he tried this new approach. He found the now hiring non-stupid people sign on Amazon. Old man Parsons says the main reason they got the sign was to grab people's attention. He said within 24 hours they got 3 solid applicants and have no more use for the sign. It worked. But not everyone is happy, like I was saying. One comment from someone in the neighborhood named Taylor said, what does that say to prior employees? Oh, we think you're stupid?
Yeah.
So we're trying to hire somebody that we think is smarter than you? Taylor was appalled when she saw the sign, saying there are other non-offensive ways to grab attention. He or she said, the fact that they felt so embodied to put something up there like that, it's disgusting, it's distasteful, it's unprofessional. Oh, my damn, calm down.
It also has nothing to do with her.
Yeah, Taylor sounds kind of stupid.
She's not getting hired there. Obviously, certain things are going to affect people, and go ahead, you can have your feelings, but it is always bizarre to me when they use words like appalled. They're appalled. And how good of a life do you have where a sign that has nothing to do with you has you appalled and is focusing all your attention? And you're alerting the media and things like that.
It's like a sickness. But others in town said they really got a kick out of it.
Would you ever want to own a business nowadays?
Hell no.
No way. I mean, just things like this. You're criticized because you'd prefer it if people, I don't know, worked when they're supposed to work.
I would never even entertain the idea of owning a business and having to hire employees because
1 minute they're with you, and the next minute you just don't even know what's possible anymore. People are so ready to.
I told you I had met a guy, a carpenter. He was doing some work at my house. He stole my extension cord, but whatever. That's not a part. That's really not a part of the story. But he was telling me he had a guy that was supposed to be working with him. He's like, hey, just so you know, my guy's not showing up. He went for lunch and never came back. And I know, Nick, I've told you the story, but he's calling the guy like, hey, is everything okay? He thought something terrible happened to him. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm in line for a PS5. Oh, yeah. Like, what do you mean you're in line? Well, he's like, yeah, I mean, it comes out today. What am I going to do? He's like, well, you're supposed to be worried. You didn't think to take the day off at least or say anything? And the kid acted as if
he didn't get it.
No, like, the boss doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Outrageous.
Now, he is right. That might have been his only time, only opportunity in a long time to get his PS5.
Mm-hmm.
But you're supposed to be at work and not just take it off and tell your boss, what's your problem,
right.
man?
What do you mean? How are you not understanding this? I am trying to buy a PS5. What is so hard to understand?
I mean, I could work any day. This is PS5 day. Man, just owning a business nowadays, that I don't envy, though. I mean, it seems like the American dream, right? Until you hear these stories more and more. This is what you got to put up with?
Well, I know a couple of dudes who run their own business, and the number one problem is nobody wants to show up on time.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to show up on time.
Yep, I've got some friends in the trade, same thing.
They want to get started at 7 a.m., but they're on their own because their staff was like, 8, 8:15, 8:30.
Or this. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Just refusing to.
That's part of the gig. Yeah, not for me, it's not.
I remember being a young kid in those warehouse jobs. I was intimidated by the boss. This is going to sound crazy, but I did whatever the hell the guy asked me to.
Me too.
Want to know why? Because he's the effing boss.
I'm pretty sure when I started here, our boss at the time had me commit crimes for him.
Yeah.
I got to do what you got to do, I guess.
There were some sketchy things that went on, and I even asked him, are you sure? Like the time that I was on the payroll where I drove to Wisconsin to pick up a snowmobile he was buying off of Craigslist.
Right.
And I thought, this is okay. He's like, yeah, dude, I'm the boss. I kind of make I'm like, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Nick, you had mentioned, how frustrating it is when people just decide, I'm going to come in whenever I want. Here's a start time. So I got a text saying, currently running late to work. You guys know how to make a guy feel like a winner. Not you, dude. We're talking about everybody else.
Yeah, see, okay, so back to that conversation about how people actually used to do what they were told by their boss without issue. I remember, maybe you had to be there, but when I first started driving a forklift, the boss was this ripped dude. He was intimidating in the first place, but also a very funny guy. But I hadn't gotten to know him yet. Once you got to know him, the guy was a riot. This was a guy, Josh, who loved to dance his ass off in the warehouse.
Yeah.
We would listen to KDWB back in the day.
Nice.
Because the majority of our employees liked pop music, so me and my buddy who I worked with always got outvoted. They wanted to listen to pop music.
Well, and depending on the era, they played, some hair metal back in the day. Well, maybe metal strong.
Dude, I can recite to you what KDWB played during this time period.
And it wasn't any of that?
Well, the one tune you might consider to be rock or metal that was huge at the time was High Enough by Damn Yankees.
Oh, I enjoyed that song.
That was on every hour. Other than that, it was all pop garbage, and I didn't enjoy it, but like I said, we got outvoted. But anyway, this dude, the boss, the warehouse manager, who I ended up loving, I didn't know him yet, and he was ripped because he did time. Right? I mean, this was a kind of a dangerous dude. He did some time. And I was new on the forklift, and he's training me in how to lift high, heavy pallets full of this, and he's training me in. And it was nerve-wracking. And I did it 3-4 times. I lifted this giant pallet up on top of another, and I did it over and over again. And I thought I was done. And he said, do it again. And I turned to the guy, and I said, why? Because I'd already done it 4 or 5 times. He walks up into my face. Our noses are touching. And he said, because I asked you to.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't question that dude ever again.
No, he owned you.
Not only was he just the boss, but, I knew the guy had dealt with much, much tougher characters than myself.
I mean, you might never say it on the air, but you actually have respect for our boss. Nick?
Well, not really. No.
Oh, there you are.
No, not really.
A little bit.
Of course I do. I like the guy a lot. I do have respect for that man.
Half-assed morning show.
They're loud. They lose control. They do their little circus act. They're a nuisance.
93X.
Our technicians are geared up and ready to make sure your system is running reliably this summer. Regular maintenance from Standard Heating helps prevent costlier breakdowns in the future, and we know they always happen at the worst times.
Summer's coming, but don't sweat it. Stay cool with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Beat the heat now and ensure comfort all summer long. Their expert technicians are ready to ensure your AC is in top shape. Call and schedule a tune-up today at 612-824-2656 or online at standardheating.com.
How wrestling really works and how you get the ratings. Eric Bischoff and Conrad Thompson explain on 83 Weeks.
This is indeed the first WrestleMania without Vince McMahon.
I mean, it's about as horrible as it can get, but does erasing that history make it any better?
Everybody's being careful not to celebrate Vince McMahon. I think you can acknowledge him without celebrating him. I think that's the double-edged sword that everybody's sort of carrying for now.
83 Weeks on YouTube or wherever you listen.
Half-assed morning show. 93X.
Have any of you ever been big Saturday Night Live fans?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, back in the day.
I still watch it. I certainly was a bigger fan in the olden days.
Yeah,
but I do still watch it every Saturday, just in case there's something for the show.
Wapple, what's your version of back in the day?
I would say like when Will Ferrell and stuff was on there.
Okay, I don't know when that was. Late 90s then? Late 90s, right?
Somewhere around there.
I've seen the show like twice, maybe.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So, but have you seen a lot of the bits like on YouTube?
No.
And when Chris Farley was on there too.
Okay, mid 90s to late 90s.
Yep. I love the lunch lady bit.
I don't know the lunch lady bit.
Lunch lady land.
Yeah.
I've heard people say lunch lady.
Hoagies and grinders, navy beans.
Who did that? Who was the
Sandler and Farley was floating around as the lunch lady.
That sounds like something Sandler would do.
I don't remember that one.
No, I've heard it said out loud. Yeah, for me personally, I was big into the Blues Brothers as a young guy, so I loved that bit. And then I've never been really huge on Saturday Night Live, but there was a stretch of time in the early 80s when I never missed it because of people like Eddie Murphy and things like that. Josh was just saying yesterday that the show wrapped up its 47th year or something like that. I mean, would that be the right math? They started in 75, and some cast members are moving on. I don't know who they are because I don't watch the show. I know you said it yesterday, Josh. I apologize, but...
Pete Davidson, Kyle Moody, Adie Bryant, and
Kate McKinnon.
Ranker had their subscribers vote for the best cast members of all time, and it looks like they've carved out a top 15 top cast members in the history of Saturday Night Live, and they start with Dinkus. Someone just said his name a minute ago, Adam Sandler. They start with Adam Sandler as the 15th best.
He had a good run on that show, early 90s.
Love Adam Sandler.
Can't stand the sight of him.
He's got his moments for sure.
From 90 to 95, Adam Sandler. At number 14, they go with Kristen Wiig.
Very funny.
Who has more talent in the tip of her pinky than 100 Adam Sandlers. Kristen Wiig was on that show for 7-8 years, 2005 to 2012. I really like her style. She's very, very funny. 13. Amy Poehler.
Yeah, she's great.
I don't have a problem with Amy Poehler, but there's a glaring omission on this list that I would have at least put there.
There's a few, Josh, because once I roll through the top 15 here, according to the folks who dial into ranker.com, I'm going to roll through some, my God, 47 years now, there have been so many people who have come and gone, some of them very quickly, but there have been so many cast members that I think really deserve a little more credit. I'm with you. I'm looking forward to hearing the grand omission that you were just
there's quite a few.
Yeah.
There's one that came to mind right away, and the more I thought about it, there's actually plenty.
Oh,
that should have been higher up. But I know I think Ranker works where it's their readers vote.
Yeah, you can
right?
vote
Isn't
people
that how
up
it
and
goes?
down. Yep.
Amy Poehler, number 13. Number 12, Bill Hader. Folks love Bill Hader, right?
Yeah,
he's good.
Just heard him on Conan's podcast.
Yep.
Been loving the new season of Barry, that show where he plays the hitman.
I just started it.
It's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a while to get used to seeing Bill Hader run around as a precision killer because you're used to him just being the goofball that's cracking up on Saturday Night Live. But you can tell he put the training in. He looks legit with the guns in his hands.
Yep.
So it's not comedic in any form?
It's funny, like in a dark way.
Oh, dark comedy.
Dark
Oh, I like that.
All right. Well, I love dark comedies. Bill Hader, very funny guy. He was on the show for 6-7 years, 2005 to 2013. Number 11, Gilda Radner, who died very young, and I can't remember what killed Gilda Radner. She was one of the original cast members, 1975 to 1980. The one character I remember from Gilda Radner was Rosanna Dana. You recall that one, Josh?
Very funny.
It's like ovarian cancer, age of 42.
Ah, for Pete's sake.
That's not funny.
That's too young.
No. Number 10, Dana Carvey.
Yeah, president of the Male Dana Club.
He's the big guy?
Yeah, he's the big cheese. Yep.
Where does Dana White fall on that list?
Very far down the list. I don't care for that guy too much. we stopped inviting him to the meetings.
What about Dana Plato?
Ooh.
Oh, God, you're going to be mad at me because I don't know who that is.
That is...
Kick him in the wiener.
One wiener kick.
One of Cubby's first crushes, Dana Carvey. Dana Plato? I lost it.
I think it's Plato.
Plato, yeah. I don't know why I wanted to call her Dana Pluto. She played Kimberly on the hit sitcom Different Strokes.
Okay, I just looked her up.
Dana Carvey was never really my style. He was on the show from 86 to 93, but I get it. Number 9, his partner in the, what was their combo again?
Wayne and Garth?
Wayne and Garth. We got Mike Myers at number 9. Had some great stuff on Saturday Night Live, Mike Myers.
Oh, I like him.
8 is John Belushi, an original cast member. He was on the show from 75 to 79 and died very young and horribly from drugs. I'm not trying to start trouble, but I never was all that crazy about John Belushi. And I'll get back to you on that. Number 7, Tina Fey.
I
She's
love
awesome.
her.
Legend.
Gosh, we were just talking about her.
Yeah, one of the funniest people around.
So good.
6, another guy who checked out awful young, although I believe my memory serves me, he was murdered, Phil Hartman.
Yep. Very, very funny guy.
I am Minnesotan.
Oh.
Sadly enough.
Gosh. Had Minnesota.
He was on the show from 86 to 94, and the man was just terrific. His delivery was perfect, and he was great at playing deadpan type characters, Phil Hartman. 5, Dan Aykroyd from 75 to 79. And here's where I'll go back to the Belushi thing. For me personally, aside from Elwood Blues, I can't say that Dan Aykroyd really ever thrilled me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen old clips from him and stuff. Like the one that I always think of is when he was like a TV pitch man selling the Bassmatic 76.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Josh, your thoughts?
Yeah, I liked him enough.
I just never thought that he was the kind of guy that could really just stand on his own. Again, I'm the biggest Blues Brothers fan you'll ever meet. Belushi and Aykroyd together as the Blues Brothers were effing genius. Absolute genius. It's just beyond that, I really can't say that. 4 is Eddie Murphy from 80 to 84. And Eddie Murphy was, when he was young, it was just unbelievable. My favorite character being Mr. Robinson from Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood back in those days. 3, he wasn't on the show long, and during those years, he was more or less a kind of a second character. I don't know the term, you know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't.
The sketches didn't always revolve around him. He was kind of a secondary player in a lot
that
of
would
the
be
bits.
Bill Murrah. Mm-hmm. Bill Murrah, number 3.
I think he's that high on the list just because everything he's done since then. If we were talking just Saturday Night Live accomplishments, I don't think Bill Murray, as you call him, would be that high. Just because he was very short. He wasn't there for very long.
Very, very funny. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Bill Murray's one of the funny. 2 is Will Ferrell. Mm-hmm. He had some great stuff on Saturday Night Live. And number 1, they're going with Farley, who was wildly funny on that show.
Yeah, I can't argue with that one.
Mm-hmm.
So what cast member from the history of Saturday Night Live, Josh, who was the first one that came to mind that you thought, damn, they deserved a little bit better on that ranker list?
Well, 2, the first one that came to mind, mostly because he recently passed, Norm Macdonald.
Oh, yeah.
I think should have been on. And Chevy Chase. who's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, that's the thing. Chevy Chase was the star of the first season of Saturday Night Live. I don't think there was any question about that. But was he only on 1 or 2 seasons?
2 years. It was just a couple.
Yeah, he didn't stick around long.
John Lovitz.
Oh, my God.
Kevin Nealon. David Spade.
Yeah, Spade was good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, was Martin Short was on Saturday Night Live, right?
Oh, my damn. Yes. Now, I never was a big Nealon guy, but if you listen to this program, Josh and I, John Lovitz, we don't need the man to say a word. John Lovitz. Martin Short was so incredibly funny on that show. He simply is one of the funniest men that have ever lived. Martin Short is an effing genius.
I mean, Kevin Nealon's Mr. Subliminal, that bit was genius, speaking of genius. I loved that bit.
What was Ed Grimley? Do you remember the character Ed Grimley that Martin Short portrayed on Saturday Night? Anybody?
Barely.
Oh, my God. I used to imitate that as a child. I loved Ed Grimley. He talked like this, and he said things like, I must say. If you're old enough to remember, you know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to roll through some of the other names. Jim Breuer. Now, I've never really dug his style, but everyone was crazy about Jim Breuer for a while on Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah, he wasn't one of my, but he definitely had his moments, that's for sure.
Here's one that, I just think too much time has passed for some of these names to be remembered. And I'm just going to imagine that the majority of people who are on Ranker are a little younger.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong because they did throw names like Gilda Radner and things like that into their top 15. Maybe I'm wrong. But Billy Crystal was incredible on Saturday Night Live for a couple years. Billy Crystal's characters.
God, I guess I never realized he was on there.
Oh, my damn. You look marvelous. Remember that one, Josh?
Love that one.
And I think his best bit on Saturday Night Live, and again, if you're a little younger, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about. I think it was he and Christopher Guest, who, part of Spinal Tap, Christopher Guest, and he was in, what was the dog show movie? Best in Show.
Oh,
and
yeah. Uh-huh.
Christopher Guest is lights out funny. He and Billy Crystal played the bumbling apartment repairman duo, Josh, where and it wasn't about what they did. They would have these conversations where Billy Crystal would say, when you're you're sawing at the webbing between your toes with an X-Acto knife, and then you pour some Tabasco sauce on top of it? I hate when that happens.
Yep, I know what you mean.
And then the other guy would say, it's like the other day I took one of those, and Billy Crystal would say, staplers? And he'd say, yeah, and I just started stapling my eyelids shut. I hate when that happens. If we could find some audio on that, that was... Jane Curtin was great as a straight character. Jane Curtin.
People are texting in Steve Martin. Now, he was never on the show as a cast member, was he?
No, he was
just
not.
No.
Like a special guest and a host.
He's hosted like 15 times, damn.
Steve Martin was never a cast member. But I'm just going to bomb through some of these names, and some of them didn't last long. And some of them, they didn't last long for good reason. It just didn't work. But one of them would be Robert Downey Jr., who now is one of the biggest effing stars in the world. Chris Elliott.
I love Chris Elliott.
Is a genius.
I forgot he was on there.
It didn't last long, I don't think, for Chris Elliott. Maybe 1 year.
I was just quoting some Chris Elliott a couple days ago from Cabin Boy.
Oh, God, Cabin Boy.
That is so underrated. Although I wonder if I watch it now if I would think it was terrible. At the time, I really enjoyed it.
What was his sitcom where he lived with his parents?
Something Life.
Yeah, Get a Life.
Was that it?
Effing Chris Elliott. Okay, Jimmy Fallon was on that show forever, was he not?
He was, yeah.
Was he just not that memorable, or what would you say? I never watched Jimmy Fallon on.
God, his bit with Sean Hayes, the Jeffries, or whatever it was.
I don't know that one.
They run an uptight store, and they tell everyone to get out of the store, and then Will Ferrell comes in with his small phone.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
Oh, it's so funny.
I think he was pretty polarizing on that show because he would break constantly. You mean he would start laughing during he couldn't contain himself. And
That makes sense.
Some people found that really endearing and kind of charming. Other people found it very, very annoying.
That's funny. That's the same thing with Kenan Thompson.
I love Kenan Thompson, but people criticize him because he can't hold back his laugh. I think it's funny that the guy can't.
I think it's more accepted. I remember, I can't remember who I was listening to. Somebody from one of the casts had talked about how Lorne Michaels hated it.
Right, he would just freak out because he thought you were trying to draw more attention to yourself and you're taking away from the bit.
And then Jimmy Fallon kind of, I guess, loosened up that take. But yeah, he was by far the worst offender as far as that goes. I mean, he wouldn't just kind of crack a smile. He'd be crying. He'd be dying.
That's what he did in the Jeffries bit a lot.
Yeah, he could not keep it together.
More SNL characters. Will Forte. Don't you love him, Dana?
Yeah, I love Will Forte. Very funny guy.
Al Franken. Of course, Stuart Smalley is one of my favorite characters ever.
Tracy Morgan is coming in via text. He was funny.
Tracy Morgan was so funny, and I like I said, I only sporadically visited Saturday Night Live since the mid-'80s. Just once in a while I'd run into a little bit of this or that. One of my favorite bits of all time, Tracy Morgan is living under a manhole. He's living under the street, and Britney Spears visits him in his little manhole house. Anyone follow that?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, and he sings some song about a doo-doo pie? Oh, God. I think he ate a doo-doo pie. He was singing about eating a Gilbert Gottfried, the recently passed Gilbert Gottfried, he was not a regular. He was like a bit character. But I mentioned Christopher Guest. Anthony Michael Hall didn't last long. Here's a guy who I think is very well thought of amongst comedians and comedy actors. Daryl Hammond.
Yeah, he was great.
Colin, is it Jost?
Jost, yeah, he's funny. He and Michael Che. Those guys, when they write jokes for each other,
it's the best.
It's awesome, but so uncomfortable.
So cringy.
Colin gets it the worst by far.
He's been on the show for a long time, this guy.
Yeah, he's the head writer right now, too.
Oh, really?
And he's married to what's-her-nuts?
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, Scarlett.
That's got to be a total nightmare.
And he owns the most punchable face of all time.
He's a good-looking dude. I hear what you're saying, because he looks like a frat boy.
He does. He's got a very frat boyish vibe to him.
And he gets
for sure.
crap for that a lot.
Yeah, I know he owns it too. Like he brings it up himself.
This is an acquired taste, and I'm just throwing these names out there. I'm not saying that I was one way or the other. Chris Kattan was on the show for a long time. Had some decent stuff.
You know, plenty of texts are coming in with his name.
Seth Meyers, doesn't he host a show now?
Yep.
After Fallon.
Dennis Miller. Although I could never really get into Dennis Miller, but I mean,
I liked him on Saturday Night Live enough.
Yeah,
it's kind of after that.
Right.
I wasn't as much of a fan of what he was doing.
His news, he was the anchor on the Saturday Night Live news. I mean, that was where he found his groove. Joe Piscopo, was it? I mean, he gets made fun of a lot, and he has been made fun of a lot for years. But his Frank Sinatra bit was unbelievable there in the 80s. Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was on the list. Maybe I just assumed he would be.
No, not on the top 15.
Should have been.
Another guy, I'm not familiar with much of his stuff, but I thought he just hit it out of the park when he was on Saturday Night Live, this Andy Samberg guy.
Yeah. Especially their, like those, what's the name of the group? Yeah, Lonely Island bits. Just yesterday, my wife and I were joking about D in the Box.
Yeah.
That's such a good bit.
I got to see those guys in concert when they played the Armory a few years back, and that was one of the funniest, best concerts I've ever been to in my life.
And I know,
just hilarious.
Dana, you love Cecily Strong.
Oh yeah, she's my girlfriend. She doesn't know that though. Yeah, she should be at least in the top 30, I would imagine. She's very funny.
And there's one more that I thought was interesting that it didn't get more votes, but there's so many people to choose from, and the top 15 that we read from Ranker, you can't really argue too much with most on the list, with the exception of Sandler, of course. This gal I've always found to be so funny, and that's Molly Shannon.
Yeah, she's great.
Man, was she fun. She's still funny.
She was also recently on the Conan O'Brien podcast. There's another, it's killing me that I can't remember her name, another very popular female, Maya Rudolph.
Yeah,
Maya Rudolph.
I had this one name I jotted down when we started talking about
really?
this.
Okay.
Yeah, she's great.
Mm-hmm.
But you got Native Restoration Jesus is texted in, and he says, all you got to do is say John Lovitz, and I crack up laughing.
Yeah, because you could picture his face.
Can't forget about Bill Hader. We didn't forget about Bill Hader. We mentioned him. He didn't make, he was in the top 15.
Yep.
Something about this and that.
eat a doo-doo pie. Tracy Morgan sang to Britney Spears.
You're listening to the 93X Half-Assed Morning Show Backtracks.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show. 93 Eric.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show podcast is sponsored by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. New episodes drop each weekday. If your podcast platform has ratings, go ahead and give us 5 stars and maybe give our enemies 1. Thanks, and here's a word from our sponsor.
Stay cool with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Beat the heat now and ensure comfort all summer long. Their expert technicians are ready to ensure your AC is in top shape. Call and schedule a tune-up today at 612-824-2656 or online at standardheating.com.